Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission today is to explore a fundamental truth that connects, well, the halls of the United Nations, the high-stakes world of global trade, and the intensely personal fight for justice in a medical malpractice case. Okay, let's unpack this.
It seems impossible, right, that those three arenas could share any common ground. But they do.
They really do.
We've looked at your source material, and the through line is perfectly clear. It's the ability to structure, to verify, and then to use really precise, granular information.
So whether it's a global strategy document or just a single line in a surgical chart.
Exactly. Accurate knowledge is the non-negotiable engine driving everything. Progress, accountability, all of it.
Absolutely. And the speed at which that information travels and the detail it contains is redefining how institutions operate. Let's start at the very top with the macro picture. Global digital transformation.
Right. Benchmarked by the United Nations using the E-Government Development Index, or EGDI. Yeah, and the EGDI is fascinating because it shows how the whole definition of e-government has just shifted strategically over time. You know, back in, say, 2004, 2005, the UN was just trying to measure readiness.
Readiness, like, are countries prepared to go digital?
That's it. Are they even it was almost like just counting websites back then.
Were they just counting websites back then?
Essentially, yes.
Oh, boy.
But by 2008, the focus had shifted entirely to measuring actual development.
So tangible services.
Tangible services being delivered. And, crucially, by 2014, they ditched the idea of maturity. They realized digital governance isn't a goal you just reach.
You don't just get there and you're done.
No, it's a perpetually evolving process. You never actually reach peak digital government.
That makes so much sense. And the expansion we're seeing is huge. I mean, look at the increase in online transactional services where you can actually complete a task online.
Right.
We went from 140 countries offering at least one in 2018 to 162 in 2020. That's a rapid acceleration.
It is, and the depth is increasing too. Your sources say that over 84% of these countries now offer an average of, 14 of the 20 transactional services that the UN tracks.
And for you, the listener, these aren't just obscure bureaucratic forms. We're talking about the foundational functions of modern life.
Things like registering a new business, applying for a license,
requesting birth certificates, marriage certificates, even paying your utilities. When these processes digitize, it fundamentally changes the relationship between a citizen and the state.
And it isn't just about efficiency. It's also about inclusion.
The 40-30 agenda.
Exactly, the leaving no one behind. The sources note that between 67% and 80% of UN member states are now offering specific online services tailored for vulnerable populations.
So youth, women, migrants,
older people, persons with disabilities, those living in poverty. It's a huge commitment to universal access, but it requires an incredible amount of data about who is using the services and how.
And that holistic approach is what leads to this idea of a whole-of-government strategy.
Right, moving away from silos.
Yeah, where the tax office doesn't talk to the licensing department, it's all about integrated, data-driven policy.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because this integration isn't just about streamlining what already exists, it's about applying predictive technology.
So we're talking AI and blockchain.
We are. We see 11 leading countries with specific national strategies for using these new technologies in governance. They're looking beyond simple digitization and toward data optimization.
Give us a couple of examples from the sources. How does this look in the real world?
Okay, take Dubai. They have the Rama's chatbot. It acts as a virtual government employee available 24/7.
And it learns, right?
It learns from customer inquiries, which means it continuously improves its ability to handle complex requests. It's AI managing the customer service load.
So government service becomes an ever-learning system available instantly.
Exactly. Or look at Hangzhou in China. They deployed a real-time traffic management system.
Using video recognition.
Sophisticated video recognition algorithms, yeah. And the data fed into that system resulted in traffic speeds increasing by 11% and travel time reducing by 10%.
That's a measurable physical improvement in quality of life, driven purely by smart data analysis.
The takeaway is that governance is shifting from just monitoring citizens to predictively optimizing their environment.
It paints a very high-tech picture, but we have to keep the digital divide in focus. The sources provided that balance, confirming this progress is not even close to being evenly distributed.
No, it's a stark reminder. While the average is rising, the gap remains huge. 7 of the 8 countries with the lowest EGDI values are least developed countries, or LDCs.
Or landlocked developing countries, LDCs.
most of them are concentrated in Africa.
And the numbers back that up. So 83% of all member states offer at least one transactional service.
Right, but the full spectrum, all 20 of those services, is available in 93% of the very high EGDI countries.
Only in a tiny 13% of low online service index countries.
That difference is foundational. It's the difference between having marginal digital access and having comprehensive digital citizenship.
And that matters because digital government is tied directly to economic opportunity
and international competitiveness.
Speaking of which, let's pivot from global governance to the complex world of global commerce. Because if data is the engine of efficient government, it's also the hammer of enforcement.
It really is, especially when you consider the mind-boggling complexity of the trade landscape. The sources noted there are over 400 free trade agreements globally.
400. Imagine manually trying to track compliance across all of those.
It's impossible. You just can't do it without automated and structured data processes.
So digitization isn't just about making customs forms quicker, it's about leveraging intelligence from the very beginning.
Totally. Companies are using it in the supply chain planning phase now, running simulations of sourcing and production to optimize costs while staying compliant.
And on the flip side, you have enforcement agencies like the World Customs Organization, the WCO, dealing with staggering levels of fraud.
And this is where the quality of the data becomes so critical.
Why is quality the core issue?
Well, it's the difference between knowing what happened and knowing how it happened. For instance, in 2021, the WCO reported 4,030 seizures related to tax and duty evasion. For what?
Okay.
But the specific nature of the fraud, the modus operandi, the actual scheme used, was only indicated in 584 of those cases.
Wait. So in the vast majority of cases, they caught the criminals but didn't document how they did it, so the intelligence community couldn't learn from it.
Precisely. That lack of intelligence data cripples any kind of trend analysis or predictive policing. If you don't know the method, you can't anticipate the next attempt.
So what are they doing about it?
That's why the WCO is making this huge strategic shift from traditional risk management, which is retrospective,
Looking backward.
to what they call a decision intelligence approach.
I want to spend a moment on that because decision intelligence is pure jargon. What does that actually mean?
Think of it as moving from looking in the rear view mirror to using radar. It's got 3 layers. Layer 1 is data fusion.
Pulling in data from everywhere.
Every possible source. Layer 2 is advanced analytics, using machine learning to spot patterns that human eyes would just miss. And layer 3 is the decision support interface.
And that's the system that translates it all for the agent on the ground.
Yes, it turns complex analysis into simple, actionable recommendations for the customs agent.
So it's not just flagging a shipment as high risk. It's saying, this is high risk because it matches these 5 indicators from a known scheme, and you should take this specific action.
That's it. It's a huge shift toward predictive enforcement. And technology is facilitating this at the physical border. The future is what they call open architecture, or OA.
What does that mean for a customs scanner?
It's all about interoperability. Historically, if you bought a screening system from Company A, you had to use all of Company A's stuff, their hardware, their software.
Vendor lock-in.
Total vendor lock-in. OA is a game changer because it lets you plug together hardware, software, and algorithms from different suppliers.
Which makes the whole system more flexible and, I assume, much faster to update when new threats pop up.
Exactly. And this is being enhanced by tech like diffraction X-ray. Its accuracy in determining material specificity is so high now that it leads directly to automated screening.
Which reduces the burden on the human operator, speeds things up, and boosts security. The takeaway here seems to be that structured data, having a common file format, clear documentation, is the ultimate asset.
And this need for structured, verifiable data doesn't just apply to global trade. It applies to every single person seeking justice.
That's the perfect transition. We've seen data optimize cities and secure borders, but let's bring all this down to the individual level. So what does this all mean when one person needs justice against a complex institution, like in a medical malpractice case?
The complexity of the information changes, but the need for precision is exactly the same. Malpractice requires proving 4 things: duty, breach, causation, and harm.
And the process is often long and slow.
Very slow moving, so the precise detail of the medical facts becomes the ultimate arbiter.
We have a powerful illustration in the sources, a medical malpractice case from Mexico. It involved a misdiagnosis of necrotizing fasciitis.
A flesh-eating disease.
Yeah.
And the documents in that case pinpointed the exact piece of evidence that established the breach of care. It was a pre-op record, noted as NMRC 00008.
And isn't that right?
It noted the patient had pain out of proportion to exam.
Which, for any medical professional, is a huge red flag in this kind of infection, especially when other symptoms are subtle. The first doctor missed it.
Completely missed it. And the subsequent harm was then clearly linked to the timing of that miss. The sources show a 48-hour delay from the initial visit.
Which required a much larger surgery.
A much larger surgical resection.
Yeah.
The operative timeline itself is forensic data. The documents note the diagnosis of necrotizing fasciitis confirmed happened at 15.10.
And by 15.45.
A massive 10 by 15 centimeter piece of necrotic tissue had to be removed.
Those exact times and measurements, they established the severity of the damage, the causation, in a way that just saying there was a delay never could.
And you have objective lab results to back it up. The denial of infection continued despite a white blood cell count of 18.2K and a C-reactive protein of 45, both way up.
Severe infection marker.
Without those specific lab numbers, without that exact phrase in the pre-op note, the breach is so much harder to prove.
It shows that whether you're WCO tracking a fraud method or a patient tracking their diagnosis, the specific verifiable data points are what matter. And for listeners dealing with legal timelines, especially in a place like New Mexico, this concept of tolling is a vital detail.
Oh, it's crucial knowledge. The 3-year statute of limitations period is tolled or paused in New Mexico when an application is submitted to the Medical Review Commission.
And that pause starts on the exact day the application is mailed.
And it continues until 30 days after the panel's final decision is served.
That's amazing. The physical act of mailing a document triggers the pausing of a clock that determines if you even have a case. It perfectly links a small piece of personal data to a huge legal outcome.
And that leads right into the advice the sources give on getting a lawyer. They strongly advise against writing a long introductory letter where you detail all your grievances and your legal theories.
Why is that? Don't lawyers want all the facts up front?
They want the facts up front, but they do not want your legal analysis. A lot of potential clients feel they need to sound smart, so they focus on obscure points of law.
And lawyers are wary of that.
Very wary, because it often just distracts from the clear, factual story of the harm that was suffered.
So what's the consensus advice for the listener? What should you do?
The sources favor preparing for a phone call over writing a long letter. And the single most important piece of advice is to stick exclusively to the facts of the harm, not the law.
Give us the example they used.
The best opening statement they provided was this: someone used our photographs of us to sell their goods without our consent, earning millions of dollars a year of sales with this ads. Faxi case, faxi S, facti S. Is this the kind of case that this office handles?
Present the problem plainly, prove the harm with facts, and let the lawyer find the legal mechanism that ties everything we've discussed together beautifully.
It really does. We've seen data and precision operate on 3 completely different scales today. Information, whether it's national EGDI data, WCO fraud documentation, or the exact phrasing of a pre-op note, is the core foundation for decision-making and for justice.
And as this digital government transformation accelerates, centralizing and connecting all this data from your medical chart to your utility payments, it presents a huge opportunity, but also a massive risk.
A massive risk to the foundation of public trust. Absolutely. Think about the healthcare sector alone.
It's a huge repository of sensitive information.
The largest. And data security breaches, there aren't just privacy breaches. They have significant economic costs. The average cost of a data breach in the U.S. health sector was estimated to surpass $150 million in 2020.
That's an enormous economic threat.
It is.
Which raises an important question for you, the listener, to mull over. We've seen this explosion in open government data, right? The number of countries with ODD portals jumped from 24% in 2014 to 80% in 2020. So, since digital transformation requires this strong commitment to transparency, how can government leaders successfully balance the imperative to share data with the massive and rising economic and social risks of data security and privacy breaches? What stands out to you? Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. See you next time.